Some things just don't add up. Curious conversations and calm minds. This is Unexplained and Unbothered, and I am your host, Siren. Welcome back, everyone. We are here on another episode of Unexplained and Unbothered. Last week, we went through a true crime case that still to this day, and just to think about it, makes me think. Okay, it makes me really go down that rabbit hole, which is obviously why we're here going down those rabbit holes. And of course, that is a kind of conspiracy theory, true crime, creepy situation that we're here to discuss. Today, we're taking it down a different rabbit hole, and we're going to go down a conspiracy theory that isn't maybe as well known you may think of when you think of conspiracy theories, but it's a good one, and I wanted to bring it to your guys' attention. Today, we're going to go down the rabbit hole and the conspiracy theory of the back rooms. Now, this was one that I wasn't quite familiar with, but once I got down into the nitty gritty and I started doing my research, I started to realize that, wait a minute, I definitely have heard of this and felt this because me myself, I've been to the back rooms. At least that's what I told myself. That's like literally what I feel like when I was looking at the images that I was finding. I was looking at these back rooms at the different levels, and I felt like I was there and I had been there, and something in my brain reacted to seeing those images. Like, it was like an odd feeling, kind of like an off feeling, and I don't know exactly what I was feeling, but made me feel like I'd been there. Like, I've known this place. When people describe the back rooms, just like when I was looking them up, they don't describe them with fear or like it's a scary place. It starts with recognition, and that's exactly what happened to me when I was going through and looking more information up on these back rooms. That's exactly what I felt. A lot of people, when they start going down this rabbit hole, they start saying the things that I said, that they've seen it before, that they feel like they've been there and not in real life. And this is exactly how I felt. I didn't feel like I've been there and stepped foot into it and like known the place. It felt like a dreamlike state that I just like visualized it in my head. And that's exactly what a lot of people tend to say when they start talking about the back rooms, that it's not something that they can say, oh, this is a location, or I've been here in this day, or no, it's a feeling, and it's like a fuzzy dream. It's what a lot of people describe it as. And a lot of people say they've seen it before. They've seen it. They know they have. They just know they have. But somehow they forgot about it, and it's like out of their mind until they see those images again and they go and dig down this rabbit hole like I did. A lot of people say that the air smells like a building that stayed closed for too long. The lights hum a little louder than they should in a normal place. And every hallway that you turn to looks the same. There's no doors, there's no outside, there's really like no sense of direction when you're thinking about the back rooms. And I think the weirdest part is that people don't like immediately panic when they think of the back rooms because your brain tells you that you've been here before, so you're familiar with this place. And we're going to talk about familiarity and why sometimes this is a little bit scarier than actual like danger, like when your brain pings danger. So sometimes familiarity actually can be a little bit more frightening than the unknown or actual danger. So, why can familiarity be scarier than the known or like actual danger? Like if a car is coming towards you, you kind of have a second to react and think of ways that you're going to get safe. Or maybe you go into an elevator with a stranger, you automatically, not maybe all of you, but me personally, think of a way to escape. And maybe I'm just paranoid and I've seen and heard too much true crime. I've read too much paranormal stuff to just automatically think of an escape. Okay. Is it just me? No? Okay. With familiarity, you don't do that, right? Because it feels safe in a sense. You would think that something unknown would be like the scariest thing imaginable. A monster, a creature, somebody lurking in the dark, obviously something that's like an obvious threat, right? You would think that that is scarier. But humans don't actually fear danger the most. We actually fear when reality stops behaving correctly, right? When things start being a little bit too weird, that's when we kind of start thinking the worst, right? And maybe again, it's just me. But let me know, is it just me? I don't know, because when I went down these rabbit holes, that was something that came out, right? Like I said, Danger triggers an action, whether you're planning how to escape from being alone in the elevator with a stranger, whether your house is on fire and you're trying to figure out how you're going to get out, how you're going to get your pets or your family out, right? But familiarity without logic traps your brain. It just like your brain freezes. When you recognize a place, your mind automatically relaxes. Just like I said, your brain feels safe because you've seen it, you feel it that you've been here. And your brain says, I know this, I've been here, I'm safe. It's like when you get home, it's your safe space, you know it, or places that you've been, maybe your work. It feels safe because it feels familiar. Now imagine that same feeling, but nothing works the way that it should work or the way that you remember it working. The hallways never end. The doors are gone. There's no doors. The building is bigger inside than on the outside. Your brain just can't fathom the situation and it just can't put it into a category because with a human brain, it needs categories to like actually calm down when you've gone to an escalated place. First, it asks itself, is it safe or is it unsafe? Is it known or is it unknown? Is it inside or is it outside? The thing about Backrooms is that it breaks all of these questions. It breaks all of these rules. So instead of panic, you get something just a little bit worse. You get confused. Your brain gets confused. Fear starts peaking and rising, and then it fades. And then confusion starts becoming this loop in your brain. It's just stuck like an infinity symbol, right? It's just going in loops. And this is why a lot of times empty malls at night feel worse than haunted houses. And this can point back to that dream that a lot of people have had. I've had it too, where you're in that mall and it's there's no people. It's just you in the mall and you just can't get out. This is also why silent schools after hours, they feel wrong. Feel automatically like you're in a scary movie. Just because it's after hours, there's nobody in the halls, it feels eerie and creepy. This is exactly why a familiar place without people feels unsettling. These are places that your brain expects life to fill the environment. There's supposed to be people here. There's supposed to be movement and noises and people walking around. It's not just supposed to be me by myself. When it doesn't fill the space with the noise and the people and the environment that it's supposed to, your mind starts questioning reality. The back rooms aren't terrifying or scary because maybe you're gonna die there. That's not why. Terrifying because your brain does not understand why you're not supposed to be scared, but yet you are scared. And that is just so uncomfortable psychologically as a human. That can be one of the scariest states that you can exist in. This confusion, this feeling of being scared, yet you don't know why you're scared. I know we were talking about places like schools, the mall, maybe even a Walmart, places that people are supposed to fill, where you're supposed to see people walking, people shopping, people going class to class. This is called liminal spaces. And a liminal space is pretty much a transitional place where you're not really meant to stay. A lot of examples of this are, like I said, empty school hallways after hours, malls during closing, hotel quarters at night, the airport, like when it's after midnight, hospital waiting rooms, and even like office buildings on the weekends. And again, the back rooms are not scary because they're unfamiliar. They're scary because they're familiar, but without an actual purpose. So I want you to ask yourself, why do empty public spaces feel wrong? Why do they feel like they're frozen in time? And why do they feel like memories instead of actual locations? Yeah, this is the one that I think about all the time, especially when I have been at a school after hours or I've been in that garage parking lot at night or airport after midnight. I do feel like these places don't actually feel like locations when I'm there. They more like feel like memories. Most of the time, our brain, the human brain, presses environments into patterns. We as humans don't remember buildings. We remember the layout, how it looks, where one hall is, the shape. Your brain stores these as like templates, as you will, like a school template or an office template or a store template. Some people believe that the back rooms may be your brain actually rendering the template of one of these spaces without full details. Again, some people believe that the back rooms are what your brain sees actually before it's finished loading into reality. So there are some real experiences that were found on Reddit, and I'm going to go through them. You can go into reading more about these stories, but I did want to share some with you guys. The first story is called The Wrong Hallway. This is about a man working late in an office building, and he walked towards the elevator that he used every single day. But this time, the hallway was longer than usual, and he just kept walking, expecting the turn that was coming that he was so familiar with. But the turn never came in the hallway. And after several minutes, he realized the building wasn't that big. He turned around and the hallway behind him was longer too. This made people go into perception distortion. People believe that this is exactly what this person was experiencing, and we can go down perception distortion. We'll definitely go down that. I want to go through story number 2. Story number 2 is called The Hotel Floor. This one is about a traveler who stepped out onto the wrong hotel floor from the elevator. The carpet pattern repeated perfectly for about 100 feet. Every door had no number on it. And the weirdest part is there was no more elevator, just more hallways. Question to the viewers or to the listeners. Would you guys keep walking down this hallway, or would you just like stay still? Would you just wait and be like, I'm gonna wake up from this dream? Personally, I'd probably, because I'd be scared, I would probably explore, but maybe not. I don't know. I'd have to be in that specific situation. The next story is called Childhood Memory. Now, this one, a lot of people can relate, and maybe you at home can also relate, but many people say that they remember a place from their childhood that just doesn't exist anymore, but you're sure that you just know that this place existed, but nobody else remembers this specific place existing too. I have that. I have that too, and it does feel like it's just a dream, and I've told myself that, but who knows? Who knows if that's exactly what was going on? Now, this in turn is called memory reconstruction. And it's something that I found really interesting and that we're going to talk about as well. Going back to the second story of the guy getting out of the elevator and stepping into the hallway, we're going to follow that by talking about perception distortion. What this is when reality does not match your brain. One of the most disturbing things about the backroom stories, not just the setting of the backrooms, which obviously we know are creepy and eerie, but it's that the space as a whole just reacts and behaves weird. Hallways stretch longer than the building allows. Like, it's just not normal. Like, you know that that's not supposed to be what can happen. You know, in your brain, this isn't real. This isn't what's supposed to be able to be. Rooms repeat more than once, and that's just like, again, your brain is like, that can't be true. And another one is turns disappear. Like the guy in the first one as well, walking down the hall and waiting for the turn, and the turn was just never there. Usually, a person that is experiencing this doesn't panic immediately because their eyes are seeing one thing and their internal map says another. Your brain is a very interesting place, and your brain doesn't see the world directly. Your brain sort of predicts it. Every second, your mind is guessing. How big should the room be? Where a door should lead, how far you've walked, what's around the corner. Vision is actually the brain confirming the expectations that we have, not actually recording reality itself. Most of the time, this is how it goes. Reality, prediction, you feel normal. But when it goes, reality is not what it is, reality is not what it's supposed to be, prediction, you feel wrong. You don't feel quite scared yet, but you feel deeply unsettling. You feel weird inside. You have just this gut-wrenching feeling that something is wrong. Now, what happens when there's long repeating spaces? In places with no landmarks, identical hallways, same lights, same colors, your brain loses its measuring tool. We as humans navigate using reference points: windows, corners, furniture, people, sound changes. If you remove these things from your mind, the brain just keeps assuming the next exit must be ahead, and every time the exit is not ahead, your mental map breaks just a little bit more. That's why a lot of the times casinos and big hotels feel disorienting. But imagine this being just the endless way that it is. Your brain never actually receives confirmation that movement equals progress. When perception breaks, as your brain always does, it tries to protect you. It starts adjusting reality internally instead of externally. A lot of people report the following: distances feeling impossible, spaces bigger inside than they are on the outside, walking longer than physically possible, and silence becoming loud. Because our brain is trying to keep us safe and it's trying to figure things out, our brain prefers to doubt the actual space itself before it starts doubting existence as a whole. One of the reasons the back rooms feel so wrong is because all of your senses still work, but your brain cannot build a stable world for them. And the reason that this can become an actual horror is because a monster is giving you an absolute target, right? The monster is the target, but perception distortion removes certainty itself. It just removes it. So pretty much it begins to go, you can't trust your eyes, direction, time, memory of where you came from. So the fear isn't about being trapped in a place. It's about being trapped in a reality your brain just can't solve. And like I've said, humans are very uncomfortable, not just with danger, but with unsolvable environments. But what about memory reconstruction? This goes hand in hand with the story of that childhood memory of a place that you know you've been, but nobody remembers it but you. It's called memory reconstruction. And this is why a lot of people can feel that they just remember the back rooms when they look at pictures or when they go down the rabbit hole. They just feel like they've been there. One of the strangest parts about the back rooms isn't that people imagine it. It's that they insist they remember it. But memory doesn't actually work the exact way that you and me might think. A lot of us treat memories like they're video recordings. Like our brain stores video files and plays them back, and that's how it works. But it actually doesn't. Memory is rebuilt every time we go back and try to recall it. Your brain actually keeps emotions, a general layout, and important objects from the memory, and then it just kind of fills in the rest in live, like rendering a game world around the player. When you remember that elementary hallway, you're not remembering the exact hallway, and that was a big to me. Like, I didn't know that, okay? That is not what I thought a memory was either. Or maybe you're remembering your locker, a long hallway, the lights, and like that tile floor. Your brain is so amazing, it actually reconstructs the details of this memory on command. Back rooms get real unsettling because of this. What happens when the brain reconstructs a place without the specific location attached? You get like a generic template, if you will. Not an actual building, but the idea of a building. Yellow walls, office carpet, buzzing lights, repeating rooms. It feels like a memory because your brain built it using real memories from pieces. So the backrooms may not be a place you actually visited, but a place your mind assembled from everywhere you've ever been indoors. So it kind of constructs something from all of these little pieces around you. And I think that that's why a lot of people feel so nostalgic towards it, because it's essentially kind of part of their own memories. And it's not because it existed, but because every part of it did exist somewhere. Your brain starts stitching fragments together into a location that never physically happened. And when you start to see it, your mind starts to recognize the components before logic can actually reject the whole thing. So instead of saying, I've been here before, your brain says, I know this, even though in reality, it should not. Now we're going to go into time distortion. And we did touch a little little bit about this, but what is time distortion? A lot of people say that it's commonly reported as the following. People say that time feels unclear in these particular spaces. Like I said, and I mentioned before, casinos have no clocks, they have no windows. Airports sometimes distort time, and sometimes malls just feel like they erase the outside world. Now, this is another question that I want you to ask yourself. Does the brain measure time using events instead of actual seconds? It's a good question to ask yourself. If nothing changes, does time stop? This is why the backrooms feel so endless, because of time distortion. People don't describe the backrooms as just large. They describe them as eternal, infinity, not because they can walk for miles and miles and miles, but because they couldn't tell how long they've been walking. And that points to something very important. Humans don't actually feel time passing by. We measure time with change. How your brain tracks time is actually very interesting. Your brain uses events as actual timestamps. Sunlight moving, the sun going up, the sun coming down, conversations, sounds, hunger, seeing different environments. Is it fall because the leaves are turning a different color? It's snow on the mountain. It's winter. Flowers blooming, so it's spring. Change equals progress. Progress equals time. Remove change and time stops making sense. In environments that are repeating, same rooms, same lighting, same sound, your brain is receiving no actual update. Your brain cannot tell minutes from hours, distance from duration, movement from standing still. And I know from my own experience, that is something that I felt from having the memories of being in the back rooms, okay? We've all had that dream where we try to run or we try to scream and we just can't. And a lot of the times, this is exactly why a long car ride feels short when you're talking, but 5 minutes of waiting in silence literally feels like forever. Or when you're waiting for something exciting, it feels like so long. Your brain records experiences, not actual seconds. And again, the backroom problems are that the backrooms have no day or night, no outside world, no people, no variation. Because of this, the brain has nothing to mark time against it. And when time becomes unclear, your sense of reality starts to weaken, because reality relies a lot on sequence: before, after, memory. If you can't tell how long you've existed somewhere, your brain starts asking this question: did I just arrive, or have I always been here? And I know that I have felt that in a dream. I know that I have felt that for sure. The reason this is so terrifying is because danger is a temporary thing. Danger itself, the danger that we can see, temporary. But environment where time has no meaning, that feels a little bit more permanent. Not because you're physically trapped, but it feels like you're trapped existentially. The fear of the back rooms isn't actually that you're going to die or that you're dying. It's realizing you might never know how long you've been alive inside it for, or how long you've been there, or if you're gonna get out. A place without a sense of time is a place without a sense of escape. So it feels like you're actually trapped there and you have no idea how you're gonna get out, when you're gonna get out, if you're gonna get out. Imagine walking through a hallway you've walked through 100 times, and suddenly something feels wrong. The lights are too loud, the air feels damp, and the hallway just keeps going longer than the building should actually allow it to. You turn around and the door that you came through isn't there anymore. That is exactly what it feels like when we're talking about the back rooms. The back rooms actually originated back in 2019 from a 4chan image. And again, like I've said throughout this episode, it's because that picture, or a picture, just when people see it, they automatically feel like they recognize it, and they just know that they've been there, or that they've seen it, or that they just know where that is, or that they know where it is without knowing where it is, if that makes sense. And a lot of people feel like this eerie feeling when they see that, when they see those photos, or when they come and they start to remember certain things. Something I find really interesting about the back rooms is that people have said that there's different levels to the back rooms. The first level is actually called level 0. A lot of people describe this place as yellow wallpaper, buzzing fluorescent lights, that damp carpet smell, endless rooms, and just no outside noise. Now, the next level is level 1, and a lot of people describe this place as cold, storage or warehouse looking, dark, a space that just keeps going and going and going, and there just feels like there's something off about that space. No windows, there's again no noise, no outside perception, no time perception, nothing. And level 2 is tunnels. A lot of people describe level 2 as just being like tunnels going and going and going and never ending, again with no light, no time, it just keeps going and going. And again, a lot of people start remembering, or so that's what they feel. Their brain feels like they can remember these places, like they've been there, whether it be in a dream or a memory or something like that. They just feel like they have been there. And I think that that is one of the reasons why this is so creepy, is because how can multiple people remember the same place when it's a place that doesn't actually exist, right? It's so weird to me. It makes you think, right? It makes you think of other conspiracy theories, the Matrix, simulation, where are we? You know, that is when you start going down these rabbit holes, truly. A lot of the times, the backrooms start feeling like a memory from a life that you actually almost lived. And I know that personally, like I said early on in the episode, when I was a teenager, I started remembering this one place. And it's really interesting because I can't totally recall what it looks like, but I can tell you what I felt when I was in the supposed place, or it could have been a dream. I don't exactly know, but it made me feel scared, alone. I couldn't run and I tried to scream. I couldn't. There was no windows, and it just feels like a lonely, scary place. That's how I can put it into words. But when I look at pictures of the back room, that's what those pictures make me feel. They give me that reaction immediately because it just puts me in that place. Now, another big popular one I want to talk about that makes me feel, which again are part of the back rooms, because the back rooms can be many different things. Like I said, it doesn't have to be one specific thing, but it's a place that many people seem to think or feel like they've been there when we don't know if we've been there. Maybe we have, right? That's the whole conspiracy theory about it. Maybe we have. It's the mall. This is a huge one that was going around like last year, and I had a dream about the mall. The mall is a place where you just keep walking, walking, walking. There's no windows, there's no clocks, there's nobody there. It's just you. It was just me in the mall, okay? And I experienced this myself recently, like I said, within the last year, and it is so creepy because it's the same mall that people talk about. And how can that be, right? We have to ask ourselves, is this a place that we just all go in transition, right, in liminal space where we're not supposed to stay there for long, but it is where our brain is trying to figure out what's going on in reality? It is a question that I've asked myself because of that specific dream, and I go back and I listen to things and people go down that rabbit hole and feel exactly what the people are talking about. And it makes me think of, why do humans fear endless spaces? We fear these spaces. Why? Why is silence scarier than an actual monster? Like I said, why is it scarier than actual danger itself? And why is familiarity a thing that becomes an actual horror instead of, again, danger, us seeing the monster? And we've talked about familiarity early on in this episode. It's because our brain relaxes because it's in a familiar place, or so we think, right, that we're in a familiar place, until we realize that we're not. And sometimes it makes me think maybe the back rooms aren't a place that we actually go to, but maybe it's a place that our brain returns to when it loses context, right? Maybe when it loses reality within itself. And maybe the reason it feels so familiar to us is because somewhere in our brain we've already been there. Now, the last question I'm gonna ask you guys is, if you woke up today in the back rooms and knew that you'd never be able to escape, would you explore these spaces, or would you end up staying in one place forever? Now, the last question that I have for you guys today is, if you woke up in the back room and you knew that you were never going to be able to escape, would you start to explore these spaces, or would you just stay in one place that felt safe forever? That's it for today's episode of Unexplained and Unbothered. Sleep well.